Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great day. So this is a clip from a previously recorded video. This is a much shorter clip of it. But as always, not financial advice, for entertainment only. Do your own research. And I'm invested in closing companies. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's get into the clip. So Marathon Digital Holdings announces Bitcoin production and mining operation updates for July 2023. Here's a quote from Fred Theo. We mined 179 blocks in July, whereas we mined 144 blocks last month and 171 blocks in May when high transaction fees boosted our reported Bitcoin production. So they definitely mined more blocks, which is nice to see. Their hash rate also grew a little bit there. We also saw continued progress at our joint venture in Abu Dhabi, which began hashing in early July and produced 16.8 Bitcoin in its first month. Given our 20% ownership stake, our share was 3.4 Bitcoin for the month of July. As of July 31st, the JV's operational hash rate grew to 1.2 exahash, and we continue to expect the project's full 7 exahash to be online before the year end of 2023. So they will get that. That will not be reported as revenue on their balance sheet. It will be reported as assets, I believe. I think that's the way that they have to do it because they don't have 50% or more ownership in that joint venture. Okay, here are the numbers that we do have for them. BTC produced was 1,176. Operational energized hash rate was at 18.8, so they definitely increased that as well. And that's basically about it. You guys can look at some of the other stuff here, excuse me. Let's get into Marathon really quick on my spreadsheet, and we'll take a look at what's going on with the markets as well, and we'll call it a day. So Marathon, here's Marathon. Okay, Marathon right now, if we scroll over, there we go. 167 million shares outstanding. Market cap is at 2.7 billion right now. Stock has performed really well here in the last 12 weeks. It's up 87% from 12 weeks ago, up 78% from 8 weeks ago. It's up only 6.6% from 4 weeks ago, and down actually 1.07% from last week, or last week it was down. Okay, BTC production, obviously May helped out tremendously with the net transaction fees from the network on Bitcoin. They generated 1,245 Bitcoins. June, they actually curtailed quite a bit. They only had 979, and then right back up to over 1,000 now to 1,176. Which is nice to see as well. Their HODL position is right now at 12,964. So they sold about 750 other Bitcoins here, it looks like, out of that bunch. You can see their monthly difference here as far as BTC production is concerned. The HODL position has continued to grow. It's they sold quite a bit here in January, and then they've been adding to that stack ever since then, it looks like. BTC per exahash efficiency is at 62.55, so a little bit better than Riot is, but they still curtailed a little bit there. BTC sold, you can see that they've been selling on average between 700 and 750 in the last 6 months or so here. They sold quite a bit in January to kind of, I guess, get some cash infusion. And other than that, they've been selling around 700, 750, somewhere around, right around there for average. Okay. Hash rate growth, nice continued growth here ever since the beginning of the year. They were at 7.3 exahash in January, and they're now at 18.8 exahash, so fantastic growth there. Revenue also is the most revenue that they've possibly generated based on the Bitcoin price, average Bitcoin price for July, about 35.38 million. This, I would think, would make them now profitable on their balance sheet, or at least I would think for at least. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're not profitable for the Q2 quarter right now, based on how much they've actually brought in. But we'll take a look at the numbers when we do get them from them next week. Hash rate difference, so they installed about 1.1 exahash here in July, which is nice to see. And BTC sold value, how much they've been selling roughly, last 4 quarters. We'll look at that when they provide the quarterly results, everything else here. Based on that, institutions did increase here quite nicely to 333. Shares also went up to 61.5 million, and percent owned by institutions went up to 36.22%. We still have 1 strong buy rating, 2 buy ratings, 3 hold ratings, and a price target now of $21, slight increase from the 20 that they had the month prior. And the average went up to 14.47, and the low still stayed at 8. Now, when we look at their actual numbers here, as far as what they did in July, we can see that they curtailed for about 4.5 days, 4 days, something like that. And then new miners were installed running for only 20 days. That got us to the 35.38 million in revenue. So not as much curtailment happening with them as we've seen with Riot, obviously. And we saw a little bit of curtailment here as well in June, where they curtailed about, what was that, 5.5 days, 4.5 days, something like that, curtailed there. So they are on average curtailing about 4 to 5 days, something like that, it seems like. But definitely not to the point where Riot is. Riot is almost well, a lot more, obviously. So it's kind of interesting because they do have a lot of miners that are installed in Texas. So wondering why they don't have to curtail as much as maybe Riot does. Just a question that I have. Okay, and it might be with the agreements that they have in place, but we'll see. Okay, and then you can see here in April they curtailed quite a bit, 21 days only mined in April as well. So it is curtailing quite a bit. Okay, based on all those numbers, if we look at the current quarter that we're in, the past 3 quarters, combine those numbers together, we get a total of 266 million in revenue, 50% net income from gross revenue. We're looking at 133 million, PE of 20. We're looking at $15.89. They're at $16.56 right now. And then if we look at 75% net income, we're looking at $23.84. So they're kind of in between there. They could probably be valued a little bit higher. That's kind of my range for them right now. And then if we look at the future revenue possible based on the 8 months before the halving event and then 4 months after with revenue cut in half, if they just stay the same thing, stay the same with production, Bitcoin stays at the same price, everything's like that. We're looking at then at $21.14 to $31.70, which is kind of in line with the analyst estimates of $21 for them on the lower end. I'm going up a little bit higher than the analysts do, though. Okay, so based on this, I would say that they're undervalued based on future revenue potential. Based on current past tense looking revenue, they would be fairly valued to slightly, let's say maybe slightly undervalued to where they should be really. But it all depends on the numbers that we see at the quarterly results here coming up next week. Okay, so that is it for Marathon, Riot, and Iris Energy. They're still going to be growing quite a bit here, a little bit more towards the end of the year, which was going to be nice to see for Marathon, especially. Same thing for Riot. Iris is supposed to be growing as well. So we'll see where all these guys end up at, but it's nice to see that we have a lot of miners being installed. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of all these guys down in the comments below. Love chatting with you guys there. And let's take a look at what happened in the stock market today with the market indices and the miners as well, as well as Bitcoin. And then, as always, the spreadsheet is going to be available with my Patreon members there, okay?